I want to briefly address this propaganda from the new propaganda machine of this new parallel church, LifeSiteNews. Again, LifeSiteNews is promoting this new parallel church of Vigano, where he's sending schismatic priests into the territory of diocesan bishops and setting up a parallel church without the authority of the local bishop or the Pope. They're the main promoters of this new parallel church, and they stand with Vigano, who's been excommunicated. So it's no longer a Catholic website. It's not a Catholic apostolate. It is an apostolate and website and a propaganda arm for this fake parallel church, the Church of Veganism, the Veganism Church. So here's what one of the veganist apologists, John Henry Westen, founder of LifeSiteNews, wants to say about Vigano's excommunication. Let me make sure that you can hear it. Share my screen. And you should be able to hear it right around now.
There's huge breaking news today out of the Vatican, where the Vatican Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith has announced that it has declared whistleblower Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, the former U.S. nuncio, to be guilty of schism and automatically excommunicated. Vigano is best known for having publicly revealed that he informed Pope Francis at the beginning of his papacy that Cardinal Theodore McCarrick was a sex abuser. Vigano did this because Pope Francis resuscitated Cardinal McCarrick from the silencing he was under previous pontificates, and he was going around making deals like the China deal was disastrous. So imagine this. Pope Francis's Vatican has declared whistleblower Archbishop Vigano excommunicated while Pope Francis was personally involved in undoing the excommunication of notorious sex abuser priest Father Rupnik. And not only is Father Rupnik not excommunicated, he's still an active priest. Crazy. Go check out LifeSiteNews for the full details. God bless you.
All right, I wanted to show the whole video to you first because people don't like it when I pause mid-video. So I showed you the whole video. Now let me interact with it.
There's huge breaking news today out of the Vatican, where the Vatican Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith has announced that it has declared whistleblower Archbishop Carlo Maria...
Whistleblower. He's not a whistleblower. It turns out, again, he had his share and his involvement with McCarrick, and he unfortunately failed to follow up on certain credible accusations against McCarrick, failed to silence McCarrick. All of that, again, is revealed in that 3.5-hour video where I go over the Vatican's 2020 McCarrick report, showing Vigano's involvement with McCarrick. Of course, he's not going to address that. He's going to continue with this narrative that somehow Vigano's being silenced as a whistleblower. Well, nonsense. He's not a victim here. He had a hand in failing to rein in McCarrick. The facts are indisputable. All of the receipts are in that 2020 report. That video is there in the show notes. You can go and watch it. See all the details for yourself. So he's not a whistleblower. And again, Vigano himself says he's not in communion with Pope Francis. Of course, the church is going to say he's been automatically excommunicated. What do you want the church to still say that they're in communion with the guy who says, I'm not in communion with him? And running around creating a parallel church that this group is promoting? Of course they're going to say he's been excommunicated. And the excommunication goes back to the moment of the crime where he says Pope Francis isn't the Pope. The Vatican didn't just now excommunicate him. They're just saying he's been excommunicated. So notice how he's spinning it and gaslighting. But it gets worse.
Maria Vigano, the former U.S. nuncio, to be guilty of schism and automatically excommunicated. Vigano is best known for having publicly revealed that he informed Pope Francis at the beginning of his papacy that Cardinal Theodore McCarrick was a sex abuser.
He says that. He says in 2018 that he told Pope Francis this information in 2013. But then it turns out that a lot of other things he said right around that time turned out to be false. Because when we go to that time in 2013, we're seeing video footage of certain things happening. And then Vigano in 2018 is telling us about those same things, not knowing that video footage is out there. And he's telling us something else. Again, I document all that in that 3.5-hour video showing you that he claims Pope Francis screamed at him whenever he first met him. He says this back in 2018 concerning his 2013 meeting with Pope Francis. Turns out we got video footage of the very meeting that he's referring to. And Pope Francis wasn't yelling and screaming at him. And then when he's confronted with the video footage, then his story changes. He's not a credible person. He changes his claims whenever he's confronted with the truth, changes things, or just ignores the claims altogether, ignores the facts altogether. So he says he told Pope Francis that McCarrick was a sex abuser. Meanwhile, at the same time, Vigano's not doing anything to rein in McCarrick, knowing what he knows about McCarrick. So who really is sheltering and protecting McCarrick at this point in light of the evidence? Certainly not Pope Francis. And I don't believe him, and I don't take him at his word when he said, I told Pope Francis and he just didn't do anything about it. I don't take him at his word because his word is already bunk, given the things that we can verify in video footage, given the archives of the nuncio, given all of the receipts, given all the people who made the accusations about McCarrick and their own testimony, given other video footage we have of Vigano, I can't take his word because it doesn't match up with things we can verify. So again, go and watch that video, 3.5 hours. I can't reproduce it all, but I'll just have to say, for people who are watching this propaganda here, they're going to buy it up because they don't have all the facts. So you can see how much more nefarious this propaganda is.
Vigano did this because Pope Francis resuscitated Cardinal McCarrick from the silencing he was under previous pontificate.
False. He wasn't silenced by Benedict. Benedict asked informally for McCarrick to keep a low profile. That was it. There was no formal sanctions, nothing. He just informally asked. Vigano's aware that Benedict did that. And yet, the entire time during Vigano as the nuncio to the United States, where does he tell McCarrick to stop going around and traveling? He doesn't. As the report shows, he knows all of his schedule. He knows everywhere where McCarrick is going. In fact, he's going there sometimes with McCarrick and praising him there. So he knows McCarrick's schedule, knows he's traveling, knows he's giving speeches. He allows for it and even joins in with it, knowing that he's supposed to be silent, according to Benedict. He knows all this, and he doesn't do anything to stop McCarrick. And when McCarrick asks him, hey, do you want me to keep a lower profile? He doesn't tell him, yeah, go ahead. You know what Benedict told you, right? He doesn't confront McCarrick about it. Nothing. Doesn't do it. And so McCarrick keeps doing it. And then again, when Priest 3's allegations come to the attention of Vigano, writes to Cardinal Wale about what to do about it, Wale tells him what to do. He doesn't follow up with everything that Wale told him to do. So, again, until the very end of him being nuncio in 2016, he didn't silence McCarrick. Why is that? So if he's this hero that he's claiming to be and blaming it all on Pope Francis, why wasn't he actually doing anything about McCarrick? It seems to me that he realized he was about to be exposed. In 2018, he realized this McCarrick report is about to come out, and I know I dropped the ball in some areas, and I didn't do enough about McCarrick like I should have. Seems to me he realized that, and so instead he shifts the blame onto Pope Francis. That's the way it comes across. Well, let's continue.
And he was going around making deals like the China deal was disastrous.
And again, was McCarrick silencing him and prohibiting him from doing that? Nope. So if that's true, you can thank Vigano for that. Thank Vigano for it. Because Vigano had his own share in it by not silencing him, by not restricting him. Yeah, thank him for that. But also, I don't buy this stuff about the China deal anyway. We don't even know what the China deal says. So you can't comment on it like this. One day when we get access to that deal, then we can talk about it.
So imagine this. Pope Francis's Vatican has declared whistleblower Archbishop Vigano excommunicated while Pope Francis was personally involved in undoing the excommunication of notorious sex abuser priest Father Rupnik.
Wow. Interesting, given the fact it was Pope Francis that has lifted the statute of limitations on the Rupnik case, and that is why Rupnik is currently undergoing a trial. This is as of October 27, 2023. Francis is the one who lifted the statute of limitations so that he can go undergo this trial that is currently going on. Pope Francis did that. So don't pretend that Pope Francis is somehow protecting Rupnik when it's the exact opposite. Not only that, the Rupnik case, according to Monsignor Kennedy, who's over the disciplinary section of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, it's that Rupnik case is complex, but in its advanced stage. So we're going to find out something about Rupnik in this case soon. Thanks to Pope Francis, who lifted the statute of limitations to allow for this to go through. Now, of course, John Henry Westen, the new apologist for this fake parallel church of veganism, this veganist apologist, not Catholic, of course he doesn't tell you that. He doesn't tell you, well, actually it was Pope Francis. He doesn't say that. He just leads you to believe it's somehow Pope Francis allowing for this other accused abuser to get away with everything, but then he's trying to silence a whistleblower. Yeah, it's just not true. And the facts are against them. They have lost the plot. LifeSiteNews has lost it. They've lost the plot. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see the full video, go to the link in the description. And also, while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. God bless. For years, I've tirelessly defended the Catholic magisterium, despite pushback from numerous people slandering this ministry, misrepresenting it, and calling for its cancellation. Our situation today is very similar to the days of St. Maximus the Confessor, who was constantly pressured to deviate from the teachings of Rome and embrace the heresies that many other bishops were promoting. He was exiled, ridiculed, slandered, but he stood fast despite this persecution, which also included the imperial court of Constantinople cutting off his arm and ripping out his tongue so that he could no longer write the truth and speak the truth. It can be costly to speak the truth and defend the papacy in an age that is so hostile towards it, just like during the days of St. Maximus. But this is what we are called to do. This is the faith and tradition of our forefathers. I plead for all Catholics to stand up for our church and defend it. And consider supporting this channel that has been vindicated by Rome's decisions time after time again. You can do that by subscribing and supporting this ministry at patreon.com/Reason and Theology or reasonandtheology.locals.com. There's also a PayPal and a GoFundMe link in the description of this video. God bless.